Welcome to IPHS 403, Public Health Systems, Policy, and Management. I'm Stephanie Shapiro-Berkson, and I'm really looking forward to working with you this semester. I'll be the lead for the modules leading up to spring break, and then Dr. Chan will take over as the lead for the modules when you return from break. Over the course of this semester, we will dig into the meaning behind some of the words making up this wordle. It may be interesting to revisit at the end of the semester since it may have all new meaning to you. This is the first narrated presentation. We'll include a narrated presentation for each module week. The main intent of these presentations is to deepen the conversation around the key learning objectives of the module and to clarify the individual and team assignments. But before we get into the content, let's start with an overview of course logistics. Here, you see the menu bar of our Blackboard course website and the welcome page. Please note each of the links found on the main course menu shown here. Specifically, please take note of the e-classroom link highlighted by one of the green arrows, which leads you to each module containing the specific agenda and everything needed to complete. To navigate through Blackboard for each module section, you can either use the table of contents link on the left-hand side of the screen next to the main course menu, or you can just scroll through the module activity guidelines using the arrow keys seen on the upper right-hand side of the screen. And before we move on, I also wanted to point out the Teams link on the main course menu highlighted by that other green arrow. The course is structured into an introduction week, 7 subsequent modules, each of which are 2 weeks long, and a conclusion week. Module 5 is actually only 1 week since the second week is spring break. Week A of each module focuses on designated case studies, as well as additional resources. During this week, you're required to complete a conferencing exercise based on these case studies as well as the recommended additional resources provided. For this exercise, there'll be a question prompt for each case study, 2 or 3 of them depending on the week, as well as a general question prompt focusing on the additional resources. We'll ask you to then also comment on what others have posted, as this simulates our cyber class discussion. Then, in week B, we turn the focus to our overarching semester-long charge, a full accreditation capacity assessment and performance improvement plan. And the charge goes as follows. You were recently appointed administrator of a public health organization, and your governing body charges you to assess the capacity and improve the performance of the organization in order to achieve full accreditation within 3 years. You have 100 days, 1 semester, to produce a credible plan to achieve this goal. You'll be assigned to teams based on your initial biosketch that you post on our Introduction Week discussion board. These teams will remain consistent throughout the semester. During Week B, teams will devise 2 content-related tools and post onto a public discussion board for instructor as well as co-learner feedback. At the same time, each individual student will select a tool to add to their own personal toolkit to be turned in at the end of the semester. Rounding out week 2 will be module reading trivia, a core piece of our gamification score which counts towards your class participation grade. Here is an overview of the toolkit that you'll be developing over the course of the semester. As mentioned, you'll develop each tool together with your team, 2 tools per module during week B, and then submit these tool drafts onto their respective discussion boards. At the same time, you'll be completing your own individual toolkit to be submitted at the end of the semester in the form of an organized, useful resource that you can refer to in your coursework here in the School of Public Health and possibly in your subsequent professional careers. This slide presents an overview of all IPHS 403 course points. Your gamification score, or the points you earn from module reading trivia and other little learning games like simulations and informational quizzes, will represent your course participation grade. Just like the gaming world, be sure to check our Blackboard leaderboard. The other two components of your overall score will be earned individually as well as in teams. As you see here, your individual score will be the bulk of your grade, including 60% of the points, while your group score will make up 40% of your grade. Now that we've talked about the administrative piece of IPHS 403 and the overall picture of the course, let's dig into our first intro module content and what will be our first tool workshop. We'll proceed throughout the course with this pattern where we'll have a tool workshop in the second week of each module. This is actually our first practice workshop. You've been given to read a slideshow summary of Michael Watkins' book, The First 90 Days, Critical Success Strategies for New Managers. You've also been given to review a slideshow by a former UICS PH student, Shelley Ebert. Her top 10 things I didn't know what she didn't know before becoming a public health administrator. And you've also been given to read an article entitled 10 Things Every Health Official Should Know. For our first tool, we ask you to compare and contrast Shelley's lessons and the lessons provided in the 10 Things Every Health Official Should Know article. As you consider the attributes put forth in these articles and slideshow, also consider the attributes described by Professor Rowitz in our assigned PDF chapter. Take a moment to review these important attributes. I wanted to point out the ones dedicated to community and social justice. This exercise, as all tool exercises throughout the semester, should be completed with your teams. As you've posted your bio sketches onto the Who's Who discussion board, we have been creating teams. You will know your team by going to the team link on the eClassroom page mentioned a little earlier. There is a team site set up at this link. You're welcome to use this site to communicate, but you may find other more robust formats. You're welcome to use the format that your group decides is best. Now back to the question at hand and working with your teams. As you begin to tease out the most important things that managers need to do in the first 90 days in their new role, don't forget to consider Michael Watkins' book, The First 90 Days. What key strategies does he suggest? Getting you started with these lists, is there anything you would add? Anything you would disagree with? Which of these strategies would also apply to public sector managers? How will the Rowitz leadership attributes guide your proposed transition agenda? Please pursue this discussion with your new team in preparation of the first tool, the Professional Transition Agenda. Now that we've framed this tool a little bit, let's think about what it is exactly that we're asking you to do. With your team, outline a transition agenda for a newly appointed public health manager. Please list 10 or fewer things that this public health manager should do or learn during their first 90 days in their new position. The agenda should be generic, but at the same time, please consider its applicability to our course scenario, that we have a newly appointed manager and that the governing body wants a plan and a path toward accreditation. Once your team has finalized a transition agenda tool, please submit onto its designated discussion board via the link on the eClassroom intro module page. That way, all students and instructors may review each group's tool, and we can all provide each other feedback and discussion. Then, select a tool to add to your own personal toolkit, as is, modify, or even create a whole new tool based on your review and participation on the tool discussion board. And one final piece required for each group tool submission and individual final toolkit: a brief justification. In other words, each tool must be accompanied by this justification explaining methods for selecting the specific tool and its components. And then the group tool submissions are always due on the second and last Monday of the module, the second Monday, which is the last Monday. For this intro practice exercise, though, we wanted to give you a little more time to settle into course expectations. So the intro group tool draft is due on Friday, January 25th. Please note that our first official module starts before this date, but we wanted to give you this time to get accustomed to this ongoing course routine. Also note that this is a practice exercise. Please let us know if you have any questions or concerns. We really look forward to seeing the first group submission. Thank you, and have a great week.